It was a silent, starry night when the tranquility of Earth's outer atmosphere was violently disturbed. Lyra, a young alien from the star system Gliese, found herself hurtling through the sky, her small, sleek craft shuddering as it broke through the atmospheric barrier. The craft, designed for stealth and speed, was not built for such rough entries, and it vibrated alarmingly as it descended too quickly towards the dense forests of northern Canada. Lyra's heart pounded as she fought to maintain control, her slender fingers moving deftly over the glowing controls, trying to stabilize the descent. Her ship, the Nebula Dancer, was damaged during an unexpected meteor shower in the belt of Orion, leaving her navigation systems barely functional. As the ground rushed up to meet her, Lyra braced for impact, activating the ship's emergency shields at the last possible moment. The crash was a cacophony of tearing metal and shattering glass. When silence finally settled, Lyra found herself dazed but alive amidst the wreckage of her once graceful ship. Her first thought was of concealment. Survival on an alien planet required caution. Her luminescent eyes, glowing faintly blue in the darkness, scanned her surroundings. The ship had carved a gash through the thick forest, coming to rest hidden under the shadow of towering pines. Weak and weary, Lyra stumbled out of the crumpled craft, clutching her side where a bruise was already forming. The air was crisp, laced with the scent of pine and the fresh, clean smell of snow. Her species was resilient, adapted to extreme conditions, but the chill of the Canadian forest bit into her flesh. She needed shelter, and quickly. As she ventured deeper into the forest, her delicate, pointed ears picked up the faintest sound of a stream nearby, a promising sign of life and resources. Using the stars and the faint magnetic pulse of the planet, she navigated through the underbrush until she stumbled upon an anomaly, a mound that was too symmetrical, too perfect to be natural. Brushing away the layers of moss and leaves, Lyra uncovered a metal hatch, embedded in the ground beneath the twisted roots of an ancient tree. Intrigued and desperate, she pried it open to discover a set of narrow stairs leading down into darkness. Flicking on her wrist-mounted light, she descended into the gloom, finding herself in a small, well-equipped shelter. It was clear from the dust and the stale air that it hadn't been used in years. Shelves lined with canned food, a water purifier, and even a small generator hinted at human preparation for some long-forgotten disaster. Lyra sealed the hatch behind her, her heart still racing from the crash and the subsequent discovery. This shelter, hidden and forgotten, was perfect. Here, she could survive, heal, and perhaps find a way to communicate with her home or the mysterious inhabitants of this planet. As she settled into the quiet solitude of her accidental sanctuary, she began to explore the remnants of human occupancy: old books, photographs, and a ham radio, which crackled with the ghost of distant transmissions. Her new life, concealed in the heart of an alien world, was about to begin. Days blended into weeks as Lyra adjusted to her unexpected new home. The shelter, initially a cramped and foreign space, slowly became a sanctuary filled with echoes of human life that once was. Lyra's initial explorations revealed a trove of resources. Food supplies were abundant, and there was even a collection of clothing, somewhat ill-fitting but serviceable. Most importantly, she found tools, a variety of human devices and gadgets whose functions she learned through trial and error. As she adapted to her new environment, Lyra became a student of Earth's technology. She was fascinated by the old ham radio, spending hours tinkering with its components, adjusting frequencies in hopes of picking up signals. Through static-filled voices and fragmented broadcasts, she pieced together a rudimentary understanding of human languages, primarily English, which seemed widely used in broadcasts she could receive. Her scientific curiosity thrived in isolation, pushing her to understand not just the technology but also the culture of the planet's inhabitants. The shelter's previous owner had left behind a collection of books, novels, history, and manuals on wilderness survival. Lyra devoured them, the written words helping her to grasp the nuances of human emotions and social norms. She often found herself pausing, pondering the conflicts and passions that seemed to drive human behavior, so alien yet oddly relatable. Lyra's nights were restless, filled with a loneliness that seemed to amplify with each passing day. She missed her family, her friends, her world. Yet, she knew that returning was not yet possible. Her ship was beyond repair, and without proper communication equipment, reaching out to her people was a dream. Instead, she found solace in the stars visible through the small, barred window of the shelter. They were the same stars that shone on Blees, a comforting constant in a sea of change. Amidst survival and solitude, Lyra also faced the practical challenges of living in an alien world. She learned to ration food, understanding that her supplies, though plentiful, were finite. The water purifier required regular maintenance, a task she mastered with the help of a well-thumbed manual on machinery repair. As the seasons changed, so did the world outside her shelter. She observed the flora and fauna through remote cameras she salvaged and repaired from the ship. The cameras, placed discreetly around the perimeter of her shelter, allowed her to study the rhythms of this earthly forest, its wolves, bears, and myriad birds, all oblivious to the alien observer hidden beneath their roots. Yet, with all her newfound knowledge and skills, a deep yearning to connect with others grew within her. The isolation that once protected her now seemed a barrier she was unsure of how to overcome. Her days were occupied with learning and observing, but her evenings were spent crafting a new goal, to find a way to communicate, not just to survive, but to truly understand and maybe one day, interact with the inhabitants of this vibrant, complex world she now called home. The tranquility of Lyra's new life was abruptly shattered one crisp autumn morning. Her daily routine of maintenance and study was interrupted by an unexpected disturbance, a sound foreign to the natural cadence of the forest. Her sensitive ears picked up the crunch of heavy boots on dry leaves. Instantly alert, Lyra's heart thudded with a mix of fear and curiosity. Someone was approaching the shelter. With careful precision, she quickly accessed one of her remote cameras and flicked through the feeds until she spotted him, a tall man, moving with a deliberate purpose through the woods. He was dressed in earthy tones, blending with the autumn foliage, and carried a large backpack. His movements were confident, suggesting familiarity with the area. Lyra watched as he paused near the entrance to the shelter, looking around cautiously before uncovering the hidden hatch she had used countless times. Her mind raced as she observed him. Was he a local, a hiker, or someone with a deeper connection to this place? He lifted the hatch and descended into the shelter. Lyra was torn between hiding in her small, concealed alcove behind some supplies, or attempting to escape into the forest. Deciding it was too risky to leave, she chose to remain hidden, her body tense, ready to react. Inside, the man seemed to know exactly where everything was. He placed his backpack down with a thud and started to inspect the room. He checked the generator first, a sign that he was here for more than just shelter. Lyra's eyes widened as she pieced it together. He wasn't just any intruder, this shelter was his, or at least he was intimately familiar with it. As days turned into a week, Lyra continued to hide, observing the man she now knew as Dr. Evan Harris from the identification she glimpsed in his wallet one night. He was a scientist, based on the stacks of journals and papers he often studied by the dim light of a lantern. His presence in the shelter was not the result of a random hike, it was intentional and purposeful. Lyra learned his routine, staying silent and unseen as she watched him work. He spent his days fixing old equipment, taking notes, and occasionally stepping outside to collect samples or set up what looked like weather monitoring devices. At night, he would sometimes talk aloud, recording his thoughts on a digital recorder about climate change and its impacts, which he studied with keen interest. Intrigued by his dedication and lonely in her own extended solitude, Lyra felt a growing connection to Evan. He was completely unaware of her presence, yet his company filled a void she hadn't realized was so profound. One evening, as Lyra listened to Evan lament the limitations of his current research tools, a daring thought struck her. She was skilled in technology far beyond anything Evan seemed to have. Quietly, in the dead of night, she began to draft designs for a device that could enhance his research, a gesture of goodwill, a bridge between two worlds. Her plan was risky, but the loneliness and the shared quest for knowledge pushed her beyond her fears. Lyra decided she would reveal her existence to Evan, not through direct confrontation, but through the universal language of science. If he responded with curiosity rather than fear, perhaps then she could truly call this strange new world a home. AI Spurs. The decision to reach out was fraught with risk, but Lyra felt a compelling need to connect, to break the isolation that had enveloped both her and Dr. Evan Harris in their shared, secret refuge. After nights of meticulous planning and crafting, she created a prototype of a device that would significantly enhance Evan's ability to collect and analyze environmental data. It was a compact, highly efficient sensor array, using technology light years beyond anything currently on Earth. As dawn painted the sky with hues of orange and pink, Lyra placed her creation on Evan's cluttered work table. She included a simple, handwritten note explaining its function, carefully written in her best attempt at human script, which she had practiced tirelessly. The note was unsigned, an anonymous gift. She retreated to her hidden alcove, her heart racing with anticipation and anxiety. That morning, as Evan stumbled upon the device, his reaction was a mixture of astonishment and confusion. He turned the object over in his hands, examining the unfamiliar but clearly sophisticated technology. Reading the note, his brow furrowed, his eyes scanning the room as if he could somehow spot the benefactor hiding in the shadows. For days, Evan tested the device, recording drastically improved data that left him both thrilled and deeply puzzled. His monologues, often captured on his recorder, expressed a growing suspicion that he was not alone. Despite his confusion, his scientific curiosity began to overtake his initial caution. He started speaking aloud while working, half hoping for a response from his mysterious collaborator. Lyra listened, her heart warmed by his acceptance and excitement, yet still shadowed by fear. She decided to make her presence known gradually, revealing her existence piece by piece. She started adjusting tools on his desk slightly, leaving small notes with suggestions for improving his experiments, each sign hinting at her alien perspective. One late evening, as the northern lights danced across the sky, painting ethereal colors over the shelter, Lyra left a more detailed note, explaining who she was and why she had come to Earth. She watched from her hiding spot as Evan read the note under the soft glow of his lantern. Evan's initial shock gave way to a profound awe and a cautious hope. He spoke into the night air, addressing the hidden Lyra directly, inviting her to show herself, promising understanding and secrecy. After a long, breath-held moment, Lyra stepped from the shadows, her appearance unmistakably non-human with her glowing eyes and graceful, elongated limbs. The meeting was a delicate dance of questions and answers, where fear met fascination and curiosity bridged worlds. Evan, a scientist to the core, was awestruck by the living proof of extraterrestrial life and humbled by Lyra's trust in revealing herself to him. In the weeks that followed, the shelter transformed from a place of solitude to one of incredible collaboration. They worked together, combining Lyra's advanced technological knowledge with Evan's environmental research. Their work, once cloaked in isolation and secrecy, now bore the potential to bring forth breakthroughs in science and technology. Lyra and Evan, a pair once divided by cosmic distances, found in each other a shared mission. They established a profound bond, a testament to the unity that can exist between the stars, proving that amidst the vast and mysterious universe, connections can be formed in the most unlikely places.